It's truly wonderful to connect with each of you today on this Jewish New Year. Today, as in years past, we collectively stand on the cusp of something new, but this year we are physically distant, separate in our own homes. And so many have felt an unsettling sense of isolation during this pandemic. Students, seniors, singles, and really everyone has had to shelter in place for months now. It's so bad that teenagers even want to go to school. Everyone longs for human connections that once were so easily a part of our lives. Bumping into friends in town, enjoying a family gathering at a restaurant or drinks out with friends, without the dreaded fear of breathing the same air as everyone else. People have become tired of isolation, which reports show lead to loneliness, depression, anxiety, chronic stress, and insomnia. All of these conditions have devastating effects not only on mental, but also on physical well-being. However, we still know that during this deadly coronavirus pandemic, going outside or eschewing physical distancing guidelines can be catastrophic for us and others in our communities. And so we stay home. These past 6 months have defined 5780 as the year of chilling isolation. And we were never meant to be alone. In fact, we read in today's Torah portion, Bereshit, that lo tov hayot ha'adam levado, it is not good for the human being to be alone. But are we as alone as Adam first was in the Garden of Eden? Sure, from an immediate narrow view of our existence, yes, we are isolated. Even the introverts have noticed. But in the grand scheme of things, the Jewish people is a people that is connected. For example, this very gathering today, how connected we are. We see that in all that we share in the chat and our faces smiling to one another. People have also created an online Jewish geography and trivia game that's been fun and comforting to participate in because it reminds us that we really are connected, even if we're apart. We also continue to add new connections every day, like engaged couples who have still affirmed the sacred bonds of marriage under the chuppah in wide open public spaces, sometimes with strangers that are masked walking by. New parents have organized great Zoom gatherings. We've got the Sussmans and Iwamotos here, welcoming in their new baby into the Jewish community. During the ceremony for baby namings, we acknowledge that the child is not simply birthed into the wide open world, but into a sacred network of community. And so too is it with each of us. We are part of a much bigger web of connection, bigger than ourselves. We couldn't be isolated if we tried. Many of us have made or received calls from loved ones who maybe we haven't spoken with or seen with any frequency pre-pandemic. And now we're taking this as a real opportunity to connect, even if we're not in person. We are not as alone as Adam. There are others around with whom we can connect. And still, sometimes in darker moments of isolation, we might feel as if we are the only one experiencing the pandemic in this terrible and lonely way. But even then, we can turn to Jewish communities who have experienced pandemic in the past. Here's a personal account of Rabbi Chaim ben Betzalel. He wrote from Friedberg, which is right near Frankfurt in Germany, under the circumstances of a great plague known as the Black Death. The fascinating thing about this text is how old it is, 500 years old, but how it rings so true today. He writes, "It was the year of 1578 when the Almighty redeemed my soul from death. Death appeared in the windows of my house. I and my children in the midst of this crazy time remained inside our homes, and the doors of our homes were shut for 2 months. No one was going out or coming in. And I was crowned with the craziness of the times and the worries. And if I thought to myself, where can I flee to? to the Jewish book is where I'll go. Where else can I go? It's a protection against punishment and a place of refuge and protection against the angel of death. At a time when a person's heart goes down to the depths and is clouded with concern, when the air is thick with disease, then there is nothing better than when a person's heart should be drawn to Agadah, the stories of our people. The words of Agadah should replace the Da'agah. Da'agah means worry. The stories are intended to be pleasant statements so people will benefit. All those who are burdened down with the problems of our times will find comfort in them. I will speak, and it will be a breath of fresh air. This Rabbi Chaim ben Betzalel lived nearly 500 years ago. He lived over 5,700 miles away from where I'm sitting right now. Yet I feel a deep connection to him. He described how death surrounded him as it is for us, the isolation, the worry. But he found respite in the texts of our tradition, learning the stories of hardship and triumph of our people, learning the Agadah of our people. The stories of our people was the antidote to the Da'agah, to the worries in his heart. I have found such comfort in this truthful sentiment. Unearthing our people's stories with each of you who have participated in our text studies has had the same inoculating effects for me. When I set out to study the Daf Yomi back in January, I wanted to connect with the 2,000-year-old text, to learn from the sages of old, and I wanted to add my voice to the commentary to renew its relevance in the world today. Now, that was a noble pursuit in and of itself. But then community began to coalesce across continents and oceans. Look at this group. You're from Brazil, Switzerland, France, Israel, Canada, all over America. And moreover, we began to form true connections with one another. And with all of this, I felt pride and fulfillment that we were continuing the Jewish tradition of connectedness, even during our generation's time of separation. And this connected community formed during this time of pandemic has contemplated the grit, the endurance, and strength of our people in the past. Each of these stories inspire us into feeling our own capacities for resilience in the present. We, like them, will get through this together. So up close, we may feel isolated in very real ways. But if we zoom out our perspective, we will find deep connections. This reminds me, and may it remind us too, that we are not completely isolated, we are connected. May the new year bring us opportunities to further connect in real time, even if physically distanced. We are profoundly connected. L'Shana Tova.